Thank you for coming early this morning. It's a pleasure and honor to have you here in one of the most prestigious think tank institution, not only in UK, in the whole world. We are very proud of our institution here, and we are very proud of the people who come to support the institution as well. Yemen is our topic. Yemen could be a cornerstone of the future of certain regional areas, such as the Middle East, the Gulf area. Without Yemen, there is no stability, at least in the Gulf, maybe in the Middle East. We have to value what Yemen is about as a culture, as a history, as an economy, as manpower, and the labor force for the area. I'm very happy today to have the local voices heard. I've been pushing for this long time, years and years. So we have the youth, and we have the civil society, and we have the ladies with us as well, who can drive, because they are great drivers. So women are the drivers of men. That's right?
Well, if you say so.
Okay, in a consultation process in Yemen, Humanitarian Forum Yemen and INGO has organized in Yemen a meeting in February this year, and the outcome of this meeting was 95% of the organization agreed that the Friends of Yemen should consult with civil society before the conference take place. 86% stated that they would like to engage with the government to support the transition. 56% of organizations stated that they were unaware of the government's development planning in their area. Almost half of the people said they were unaware that the terms of the GCC-sponsored agreement for Yemen transition. 28% of organizations said that addressing immediate needs and are the top priority to be addressed in 6-12 months. This was the recommendation with the INGO Forum and Yemen and the Humanitarian Forum in Yemen, which was in the consultation process, which was held last month. This is not the first time we organize a conference for Yemen as Humanitarian Forum. The first conference was in Cairo with support or with partnership with UN OCHA and OIC. The second, this was December 2011. The second one was in May 2012 with the Arab League. And the third one was in Yemen in August 2012. So we are here for Yemen. We are here talking about Yemen and the future in Yemen and the stability of the whole region, which is based on the stability of Yemen. We have three distinguished speakers with us, the three that I love most. First one will be speaking with us is Mohamed Murad Mutahar. He's the founder of Hemmat Shabab. What's Hemmat in Arabic?
Liver? In English, you mean?
In English. Hemmat Shabab Foundation for Yemen. You have got 7 minutes to speak. Thank you. You want to go to the podium?
Yes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here. Thanks a lot for the organizers who made this event come to happen. Thank you, Dr. Hany, for the great introduction about Yemen. I'm here today to share with you, try to share with you a model of Yemen's youth redefining the philanthropic approaches to development. But let me start up with, it's not working. Something is wrong. Leon?
We welcome His Excellency, the Foreign Office Minister of Yemen, who just arrived. Thank you. It's not eating qat, huh?
Well, let's just try by start up with a small story of one of the old women who's actually over 75 years old. This woman actually came to see her after we have visited her house, which is a 2 by 2 meters of one room, and we came to see this lady actually being alone in this house. She's actually food insecure, and she would only depend on the food from the neighborhood, who would sometimes come to give her food, and sometimes she would just remain without no food. She is one of many, a lot of Yemenis who are actually there, who are actually food insecure. This lady actually was not in a rural area. She was in the middle in one of the cities of Yemen. She's a model of many other families who are actually now facing the poverty and the humanitarian crisis when we talk about food insecurity. Our volunteers who came up to do the surveying for these family initiative, for the family who are actually facing the poverty in Yemen, came to see that the numbers that we always see about humanitarian poverty is not only figures. They are there in place, and they are actually families who don't have their annual food sufficiency to cover their food. That's the lady I was talking about. That's another two ladies who have been really inspiring us ever we started in 2009 to continue in this direction, to tackle up the poverty aspect and the unemployment. I will try to discuss with you three main points today. Redefining the philanthropic approaches to development, and that was adopted by one of the Yemeni youth CSOs, Hemmat Shabab Foundation. And I would like to share some of the voice of the youth about projects and concepts they aspire to achieve in the coming future. And we'll try to wrap up with some recommendations. But before we start, the humanitarian crisis in data, maybe Yemen is not really covered when we see it in the media, but there, the humanitarian crisis is actually there. Between 2009 and 2011, the number of the severely food insecure people nearly doubled. The civil unrest exacerbating the food insecurity, where 10 million Yemenis are food insecure, and out of which 5 million are severely food insecure. Yemen is ranked as the 11th most food insecure country globally, with 1 in 3 Yemenis suffering from acute hunger. And of course, the malnutrition is another thing from the humanitarian crisis that we need many youth CSOs to be advocating it. How did we start Hemmat Shabab? We started it as we tackled one of the studies back in 2009 to see that Yemen is ranked one of the highest countries when it comes to poverty. And we started to consider the unemployment and poverty as main aspects of the foundation. Ever since its inception, we have served 17,000 families. We have volunteers network of around 1,150 volunteers, and we have served 5 main cities in the Republic of Yemen, including Aden, Hadramaut, Hudaydah, Sana'a, and Ta'az. Throughout the timeline of Hemmat Shabab, we've been seeing that the families who are actually benefiting out of these food distribution have been gradually increasing year after year. But then it just clicked into us in 2012 that we need to institutionalize the foundation to make it really a sustainable projects that can really help the needy families over there. But as one of the Yemeni CSOs, we are actually having certain things that gave us strength to really proceed in our projects. One of those were to attract youth from both genders, from diverse backgrounds that represent different cultures and regions, trying to bring them together, and to such efforts will facilitate the stability in a unified Yemen. We understand that success comes through partnerships, and not with competition, because sometimes competition could create some conflicts and uncertainties. We empower talented youth in many activities, and the new college graduate women mostly led many of our activities. We provide youth with leadership and teamwork, sense of community, and self-confidence. I would like to share as well that the ability to mobilize the youth, really making them feel that they are important to build up the community, was really one of the things that we really looked at. But before we've done a strategic plan, we were working on seasonal projects. Out of these seasonal projects, we used to do the monthly distribution of the food to the needy people. Another important event or activity that we used to launch was the youth conference that we do it on an annual basis. We try to bring up all the Yemeni CSOs together and try to tackle all the concerns and try to come up with a project that will unify all of these CSOs and these efforts together. But after that, we thought of having a 5-year strategic plan, focusing on only 2 main things. The 2 main segments that we are focusing actually is the poor families, and the youth, where we thought of having the continuity awareness and empowerment advocacy. Here, we're thinking to have a social development of needy families to fight poverty by certain development programs. And here, we're thinking to financially empower the youth throughout job opportunities. And of course, between these 2, you need to build partnerships with national, regional, or international organizations. You need to have a good raising of awareness through media and campaigns. Of course, public awareness is important in order to deliver your message, in order to have people and new partnerships involved with you. And we used to have once in a year, what we call it an AAA event, an annual award appreciation, where we recognize the Hemmat Shabab pioneers and heroes who helped us to work out the activities throughout the year, and which we aim that they could be, or they are actually the Yemeni ambassadors to the world, and they have been going out of Yemen to speak about their experiences. Now, who are our local national partners in Yemen? Maybe the private sector was the main strength in our work, because they have trusted us, they have given us opportunity to really show that we can do something. Before we were actually registered, we would just deliver them with the data, and they would give us the donations or the funds. And private sector was really, there is a mistake here, that should be here and that should be there. But then yes, private sector was one of our strengths. Now, some of the short-term projects that some of the youth initiatives are actually looking at is the Yemeni Food Bank. In fact, there are some efforts now are being done to do a pilot project about this. Mobile health clinic is actually one of the important issues that we need to have in remote areas, rural areas. And there are other many short-term sustainable projects. The long-term strategic projects that youth aspire to achieve are, for example, raising awareness in health and education, precisely in supporting the standards and the school improvement plan. I would like to sum up, is it already time? And international and potential partners that many CSOs are looking over to partner with are those that you see them. Accountability is an issue, and many CSOs need to consider all these points, including the governors, the building capacity, so they'll be able to absorb the pledges that are coming. And I would like to sum up with a recommendation. One of the most important ones is to have acceleration in the absorption of the donor pledges by civil society empowerment and partnership. And I would like to end up and close up that we always need to remember that it takes a village to raise a child, as once the lady Hillary Clinton said. And it's friends like you who will be able to help make a difference in Yemen and success. It's partnership that we need at this point of time. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, and for Hemmat Shabab. We also need to thank the organizers of this meeting, which is Oxfam, the backbone of one of the pieces of the backbone of the humanitarian movement in the UK and in the whole world, and in Yemen as well. A diaspora organization, Yemen Diaspora Organization for Youth and Community Organization, YRDF, Yemen Relief and Development Forum, which started last year, and Humanitarian Forum. Our second speaker is Rafat Al-Akhali, co-founder and chair of Resonate Yemen. Thank you. 7 minutes, please.
Sure. I won't go and stand up. I'm too old to stand. So I just want to start with a number that Dr. Hany mentioned in his introduction, and it's from the latest CSO consultation. And that number is basically at 86% of civil society organizations surveyed said that they would like to engage with the government in supporting the transition. And that same 86% said that either they never get consulted, or if consultations happen in their communities, they're not aware of it. So I want to focus on inclusion of civil society actors in the development agenda in Yemen. And we have to admit that there has been a lot of progress in the past few years in terms of inclusion. I mean, we now have inclusion on the agenda. If we look, for example, at the Mutual Accountability Framework that was signed between Yemen and its development partners, there's a main pillar there for civil society empowerment and partnerships. So it's there, and the government in its transitional program for stability and development also had a whole section for a strategic partnership forum, which is supposed to bring together civil society actors with the government and development partners in the development process. And if we also look at the major donors in Yemen, for example, the World Bank held consultations on their plan for 2013 and 14. The UNDP is supporting Youth Observatory project to engage youth in policy formations. So I think we're at a point where really no one dares to even go and speak about development without mentioning that there will be inclusion and we will have consultations with people. And I really believe that the intentions are there in terms of whether it's the Friends of Yemen or the government or civil society. Everyone has the intention to work together on this. But there seems to be an inherent assumption in all this that we have the required experience to do consultations in Yemen. And unfortunately, that's not the case. In Yemen, we never had this accumulated experience of running wide-scale consultations across the whole community or with, at a major level. I mean, the British that are in here might know that the UK has a very good example of public consultations, and they have their own code of practice for consultations, and every department has a consultation coordinator. So it's been there for long years, and the process is well mature now. But we don't have that in Yemen. And so when we do consultations, we joined in a consultation, for example, for the Mutual Accountability Framework, and it's not well facilitated, and the outputs are not there, and there's no follow-up on it. And so we are lacking a lot of process. So we need to start with the process first, and then get to the point where consultations are really meaningful. And on the other side, the civil society organizations don't have enough capacity to participate in these, because again, we haven't had the experience to participate in this. So again, we go to consultations all the time with World Bank, government, everyone, and we see that civil society actors would come not prepared, don't know what the strategy is, haven't done their homework as well, and don't know how to participate in these. And we also see a lot of these consultation efforts and inclusion efforts are very much Sana'a-centric. So when we talk to our partners in the different governorates, they always complain that all this is happening in Sana'a, but we're not part of this at all. And it's also not really grassroots. So I'm happy to be part of these consultations, but I'm not representative of the whole of Yemen. So we really need to work on expanding that circle that gets consulted and gets included in these discussions. So if we want to look at what are the priorities to try and address this so that we actually have meaningful inclusion and consultations, well, of course, we need to work on establishing the process first. As I mentioned, we need to really make sure that we have people able to design this process so it's a meaningful exercise, and that might be something that the upcoming executive bureau can work on. And we also need to build capacity, and I know we talk a lot about building capacity of civil society actors, and we're almost tired of that. But what we need to do is try and do it in non-traditional ways, so it's not about bringing someone, giving them a workshop, but really try to engage them in different ways. I mean, we've done previous projects where we used game simulations, like a democracy game, where actually youth get to work on designing policies and see what it is. And it was funny when we finished that exercise with the youth, and then everyone said, I don't want to be in the place of a prime minister or a president anymore, because this is so complicated, and there's all these different actors, and we have to take care of all these different policies, so this is actually really complicated. And I also want to highlight one major thing, which is the use of technology, which is really not picked up in Yemen as much as in the rest of the African continent. Yemen has, especially when we talk about SMS technology, we have about over 12 million mobile subscribers, and the adult population in Yemen is about 13 million. So really we have about 100% penetration of mobile phones in the adult population, but it's not really used. It's somewhat used in some awareness-raising exercises, for the elections or health, but really not in a way to engage the citizens in the process. So we're talking with some donors now to launch a project, maybe to do grassroots monitoring of donor-funded projects by youth, so they can use an SMS technology. We're also working on engaging citizens in the national dialogue process using SMS polling, so it's a much more inclusive and grassroots process, and not just 500 people that claim to represent the whole of Yemen. So we need to work on all this and try to expand our circles, both geographically and grassroots-wise as well. And I think if we try to focus on that, both from the Friends of Yemen, the government, and civil society, we would really be able to make a difference in Yemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rafat, for the concise and presentation.
On time.
And on time. And we follow by the presentation with Jamila, the founder and manager of Consult-Yemen.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Consult-Yemen would like to thank first Chatham House for organizing this special event, and especially before the official meetings of the Friends of Yemen. And it's a step forward. It's true that we did not have the chance to, that the civil society did not have the chance to be part of the consultations in the ministerial meeting, but the ministers came to this meeting, which is an asset. To Friends of Yemen, Consult-Yemen says, thank you for continuing your friendship during this time of hardship for Yemen. We all know that the transition has not been, nor will be, an easy process for Yemenis, their government, and friends. Yet meetings and these consultations, such as these, are marks of being on the right track. I want to go to the one. Okay, I'll start with this slide. Definitely, we all know that there for challenges that are facing Yemen at this time. I had these signs in the shapes of barrels. This could be oil barrels. This could be checkpoint barrels, whatever we want to interpret them. But I wanted to say the message in this slide is that can we all work on these four challenges at the same time? Because if we concentrate on security, humanitarian is being neglected. And if we're focusing on national dialogue, sometimes the development, the middle and urgent needs of development are not met. So my message here to the Friends of Yemen and to the Yemeni government is, can we work at the same time, at the same level, with the same effort, with the same finances, or provide finances for these four barrels, or these four challenges and pillars, because they're creating a challenge. If we're concentrating only on security, humanitarian issues definitely are affecting the security if we don't address them. So they are all intertwined with each other, so we do need to have that look. These are the new factors that have happened. If you see on the CSOs are the newcomers, the youth, and the women after the uprising in 2011. Every one of these has a special part in the national dialogue, and we have all followed up. Now they are in the national dialogue, they are available, they have a voice there, youth and women as well. There's a lot of challenges which I would go on later. Sorry. Okay, if we go to the political challenge, we will find the national dialogue and constitutional reform. These are the two big matters now that we are going to start the national dialogue on the 18th of March. And we are going to reform the constitution. So Consult-Yemen acknowledges that this national dialogue has made a change and has given 120 seats for CSOs, for women and for youth, but expressed concern at the same time on the disagreement and the standards of selection within and the withdrawal of the members of the technical committee and how it's going to affect the total income or the National Dialogue Conference itself. Consult-Yemen acknowledges the 30% of women in the political parties, but at the same time, we recommend that this has to be followed up because we know that some of the lists came back with not the 30%, but we hope that by sending them back to the political parties, they will adjust them to the 30%. Consult-Yemen supports the National Dialogue timeline. Okay, we have 6 months, maybe 2 more months, 8 months, in the beginning and the end. But at the same time, can we deal with all the issues of the National Dialogue? This is one of the big concerns that Consult-Yemen is worried about. Maybe we can start by the state building and then go gradually on other things. It might take more time, but it has to be flexible. Consult-Yemen worries that security and stability options should not prevail over change human rights and equal citizenship. There is this consensus that we want stability, we want security. We're tired of fighting, we're tired of... So would that be on the expense of real change? This has to be outlined. Okay. We're almost there, okay? Very quickly, the major economic challenges, of course, is that the donors are saying that Yemen does not have absorptive capacities and mismanagement, and the government said that they are delaying the pledges. To deal with that, the treatment was the mutual accountability framework, as you know, and it deals with economic transitional priorities. It created an executive bureau, as all of us know, and those are the aims of the bureau, is to accelerate the funds, coordinate and policy development. There's some concerns. We worry that it might be a shadow government, and the other thing is that the CSO represented in the board, the monitoring board, is selected by the ministries, by the ministers. So that might be some of the concerns we are talking about. Again, my God. Okay, humanitarian, the youth had set a very good example that these youth can engage in humanitarian effort. They are self-initiated. They did partnership with the private sector. They have ownership, they have sustainability, they are setting an example that they can be included in partnership with the government and with the private sector, and I think this is a plus for this conference and for the Yemeni government and for change. Oxfam and other relief agencies have been flagging the emergency flag for some time. We are in dire need for funding for humanitarian. It is urgent, and we don't want to wait until it's too late. This is part of the UN appeal request, and only 20, I'm sorry, it's 2% or 20. Yeah, 2% only, David, is. Okay. The last thing, very quickly, of course, the mutual accountability framework mentioned, the CSO empowerment partnership, which is very important, I think. Consult-Yemen appreciates that and seconds that, but at the same time, we do need a local NGO assessment very urgently, and I think that the World Bank might be working on that. A need for local NGO assessment and update. The last assessment for local NGOs was in 2007. There's a lot of changes that have taken place. UNDP and DRC are doing some capacity initiatives now on the local NGOs, but we think that they should be concentrating on that the LNGOs could be a link between the government and could be a link between the local communities. There's a word missing here. And then they should shift their whole process to responding to humanitarian crisis. We all concentrate on program design, on monitoring, on on gender mainstreaming, but on the field, actually on the field, there isn't any, there's lack of capacity. I'm through. Okay, and this is shift, yes. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for Jamila, the chair and founder of, manager of Consult-Yemen. Without further ado, because of time constraint, we'll open the floor for discussion. I will take 3 questions. Please, we'll try to avoid comments if we can, because we only have got 20 minutes to go before we go to the other meeting. First come, first serve. Yes?
I'd like to ask the board what they see as the future challenges to stability in Yemen.
Future challenge to stability in Yemen. Thank you. Yes? You want a roaming microphone? Or? All right. So during this time, I'll. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. Second question. Can you repeat the question, please, for the audio visual?
I would like to ask the board what they see as the future challenges to stability in the Yemen.
Okay. Thank you. The gentleman here in the middle. Here.
Hello. Working across the Arab world, it seems to me there's a huge imbalance between politics, activity and policy, and creation of jobs. And the people who create more jobs are the job creators, which are the business people. And I see that Mohamed mentioned that part of his program is entrepreneurship. Some countries don't have a tradition of that. Yemen has. Wherever in the world I've been, there are entrepreneurs. Do you feel that that is given sufficient priority in Yemen to actually get job creators rather than creating jobs?
All right. Gentleman here from Jamal bin Omar is the representative of. Yeah. That question.
Actually, I'm Ismail Ould Sheikh Ahmed. I'm not Jamal
They
bin
put
Omar.
Jamal here.
I'm the UN resident coordinator. But no.
We change your name.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. No, sorry, Hany, I can't afford making a little comment before asking my question.
All right.
But just very quickly, because,
Exception for UN.
Thank you very much. Just because being the humanitarian coordinator, I would like to highlight that we are working very closely, actually, with the civil society. We had last year 66 partners. And when we speak about partners, not only the UN agency, actually, it's mainly local and international. This year, for our new CAP, we have 89 partners, and you know that very well, Hany. And that's something I would like really to highlight. I don't think I need to go on the figures, except adding a little bit to what Mohamed has said in terms of the crisis. We have today 1 million children in acute malnutrition. This is 47% of the children below 5-year-old. We have 3,000 of these children, their life is under threat if they don't get assistance, and particularly, on the issue of acute malnutrition. It's a major problem, and it's a chronic problem in Yemen. We have 500,000 IDPs, internally displaced people. Although we have seen a huge return to Abiyan, that's something we are happy about, and we are trying to assist Abiyan in reconstruction. And we have over 300,000 registered refugees. And when we speak about registered, probably the figures is much higher. And this is something actually because we have actually 3 ministers, the Minister of Planning, Minister of Finance, and Minister of Foreign Affairs, to thank the government of Yemen, because the Yemen, despite all has never closed its border to the refugee, and it's the only country in the region who has signed the 1951 convention. My last point will be actually to Rafat and Mohamed, because we organized last week an interesting workshop with Resonate. This is UNDP side, trying to see how we can get youth involved more. And as you said, we had actually 10 NGO represent from outside Sana'a, which is something very important. Our vision actually has been always show them the way, but get out of their way also, meaning because we have seen. My question is simply I want to understand better how we can partner better. And I would like to hear even, criticism. I would like to hear how we have been, as international community, not giving enough space for the local NGO, especially the youth NGO. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think there was a gentleman from here. No? Change your mind? As we can answer the question.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Start up with.
Let's start up with the entrepreneurship subject that was raised. Yes, I think entrepreneurship needs to have sufficient focus in the coming period. It's always been raised some questions about if we do really invest in entrepreneurship, let's say, programs, then the question would be who is going to get the funds for these entrepreneurs who would like to start their businesses or ideas. So I think it should come in parallel, working in entrepreneurship programs, fostering it in the Yemeni society, but as well to help and have an integrated solution to the ideas or the new projects that are going to come. The second point is about the partnerships with international NGOs. I think when we ever started, it was mainly an initiative, and we didn't really know how to do more of let's say, institutional work. But then now, after we have been registered, I think it's now time to open space and have partnerships with international NGOs, and we've been working together. I think we have also organized the UNV volunteers work, so we have a good relationship with UNDP, and I think this has to be fostered with other CSOs as well.
I'll just, with regards to the future challenges to stability of Yemen, I would say that, as far as I'm concerned, the major challenge is building the government capacity, because whether we agree to it or not, the government is the biggest player in the economy and everything else in Yemen. So whatever CSOs and NGOs and donors do is all complementary to what the government is. So the government is the centerpiece of all this. And unless we can make the government, and when I say government, I'm talking about the civil service, able to attract talented and skilled people to work in it, it will continue to be the black box where everything comes in and nothing comes out, or very little comes out. Because of this major thing. So to address all other challenges, we need to first work on the government, because it's the one that begins the whole process. And if I just go back to the question from Mr. Ismail, I think two things are key. So raising the level of and capacity of the local civil society organizations and building their capacity to engage and consult with their constituencies. Because again, in Yemen, we tend to, okay, you get invited to represent, but you really don't represent as a CSO, because you never do your consultations with your constituencies. So it's we play the same game, sort of. So we need to train all these CSOs on how to do consultations with their constituencies and raise their level to be able to be part of these consultations. And again, as I said, I think there's a huge space to use technology in Yemen. It's not being overlooked. I mean, even if we look at internet, and I don't like to advocate for using internet in Yemen because everyone just raises their eyebrows, but everyone is still stuck on on the 2% penetration of internet in Yemen. And I think I read an article this week that still mentioned the 2% internet penetration. But in 2012, the latest ITU report, it's already at 15%. So in 5 years, we went from 2% to 15%, but everyone's still stuck at 2%. Just on Facebook, we have 660,000 users was the latest statistic. And in a country like Yemen, that's a really good number. And if for every person there, he has a family of 7.1 on average. So you can really reach a lot of people on the internet. But even if we don't focus on internet, just using SMS, there's a huge potential for that.
Okay, I will answer to the question of the stability, challenges to stability. I think the challenges to the stability is inclusion and serious work on national dialogue and consultations, because without really being done in the National Dialogue Conference, I don't think that we're going to reach any kind of peace and stability. And the other thing, of course, is to implement the reform of the military and the security forces. And I think there has been now an agreement on a Republican decree on the plan for reformation, but of course we are awaiting the implementation. So these two factors would play a role, in addition to, of course, working on the executive and the MAF projects, because development, again, is one of the safety nets, real safety nets for security and stability.
Thank you. More questions? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inshallah. You can just introduce yourself, because I forgot to ask people to mention their names and their organization, please.
My name is Nathan Harper, and I have a question in response to a few things I heard this morning, especially related to civil society lacking experience and the lack of of an inflow of talented people into government, thus making a black box, is what Rafat said. And what do you feel, what is your assessment of the capacity of higher education in Yemen and its ability to produce people that can function in effective roles in both sectors?
Second question. There's somebody here. Yes, sir.
My name is Ali Masfari. My name is Ali Masfari, writer and academic researcher. My question is to all the young people here. I am disappointed because how can you fulfill or implement these illusions or goals unless or if there is no political determination by the government? Secondly, how could you reach this goal as long as the peoples or the corrupted system from the past is still sharing the same position with the, also what they call the representative of the revolution? Where are the youth who broke out this revolution of change? They are not now in the political process. They were ignored totally. The third question is, where is the main issue, the key issue of the whole problem in South Arabic Peninsula, which is the cause of the South? South is never ever considered as a separate issue to get a solution for the whole problem. That's why you still having the same people from the past now in the present, and they will be also in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. The lady here. The mother.
Orisa Lutsevich, Robert Bosch Fellow at Chatham House. I was doing my research on the post-Soviet countries of transition and the driving force that NGOs were trying to play, and I found a few problems where the assistance was not giving through to a wider generation where citizens could not become the drivers of change. So my question is, what is the image of civil society organization, and what is actual level of penetration in the society through membership, through some kind of volunteering? What common citizens of Yemen think about NGOs?
Thank you. There's another one from there, yes.
Good morning. My name is Khaled Sakr. I'm from the International Monetary Fund. I'm glad to be here in Chatham House and also to hear the NGOs. As you said, it's very important that we listen to you and that we have a close consultation process. We are in close consultation with the government, of course, and we've been discussing the progress in the reforms and in the new budget. We know the views of the minister about where we should be heading. I'd like to hear from you, what's your views about the improvements in the budget, in this year's budget, in the areas of creating growth, employment in particular, and in better targeting the poor in social protection. Any views on that that you can share with us now, or even later, you can always send us emails with your views on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Just make a brief statement about the culture of the Arab region. In the good old days, we used to have the government role was security, maybe foreign policy, finance, and military. And the rest of the services was actually done by the civil society. It was a region which believed strongly on the action of civil society through the Waqf endowment system. Most of the services, the education, health, and the others, were run by the civil society itself in its forms at that time. What happened now from the recently developed governments, especially maybe after the revolutions in the 50s and 60s, that the government have overtaken all these sectors to run it by themselves. And they disempowered the civil society as a whole. And this is a time now we revisit this chapter again and give this sector back to the civil society. And this is one of the causes of actually the instability of the whole region. There's no civil society. If you go to Libya, we used to go to Libya and there's no organization at all, 2011 and 12. Nothing. In Yemen, very weak. If we talk about 13,000 registered organizations, half of them are non-functioning. The other half is temporary or reactionary, and very few of them are functioning. The same in Egypt, the same in the rest of the Arab and in the Gulf state, extremely weak or non-existent civil society. So let us to look at to discuss the reality of the issue. The civil society role in this region is either absent or being very weakened by the governments who are taking over every sector of life in the society. The floor is yours.
I'll give you a chance for the youth first.
A future generation.
Yeah. Maybe to share the point about how does youth, let's say CSOs, look at the volunteerism, that kind of thing. Well, looking at the whole aspect, I think the youth CSOs, before the revolution, they didn't have that confidence to carry on, contributing to the society. But now I think because they are put in a corner that they have so much to do, they feel that they are really responsible to give back to where they're living in. And it's now then the point where they need to contribute more. They need to be able to be building a better capacities to try and help in a partnership with different partners in order in these projects. But I think now they have gained more confidence than before. The other point about the and projects that could be sustainable to help the poor families and unemployment, we have been really amazed to see that there are so many ideas of youth CSOs. Some of these ideas, of course, would be, it's like a system that would go first on training these poor families in certain areas in a specialty, and then they would start doing small projects that they don't really exceed of $1,000, and then they keep on monitoring this project until they make sure that their small business are actually developing. But the thing is, without having a close interaction with international NGOs, I think they come into the middle and they don't really continue in these projects. And we really want to bring these CSOs who are really having the ideas, but they actually lack the capacity to make a sustainable projects out of it. And I think one more point is about the National Food Security Strategy, which was initiated in 2010. This strategy actually was supposed to aspire and reduce the food insecurity to 1/3 over 5 years, through combination of trade and agriculture, policy reform, population control, growth, and water policy reform. We would like this to be re-triggered again, to be reinitiated, because it's going to help in many areas.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll just address one of the questions, the ones on the budget question from the IMF. I think the latest budget for 2013, we all know it was a very expansionary budget, and the deficit in that budget was much higher. But I think the major concern that many people have is the unstable revenues. So we pretty much know, because of the attacks on the oil pipeline and what that is causing, that most of the investment part of that budget is probably not going to happen. And it will mostly, already the current spending is very high in that budget, and it will probably be a higher percentage because of that lack of revenues. And I mean, I'm not sure where the negotiations with the IMF is heading. I know we got the rapid credit facility, but not sure what happened after that in terms of the longer term. But we also noticed that the huge increase in the defense budget as a percentage of the whole budget, and still no way to address the subsidies. So the subsidies are still not fully addressed in the new budget. It should be addressed and moved to cash transfers, in my opinion, but that's something we can talk about later. So it doesn't also match with the TPSD, so we couldn't really see how that matches the priorities of the TPSD. So that's something that needs to be worked on as well.
Thank you.
Okay, very quickly, it's a question of higher education in Yemen. I think we do have a lot of higher education graduates. What we need is actually lower graduates in vocational training, more than higher graduate. But still, those who are qualified and good in higher education should be involved, I think, with the government, should be involved in this process of change and transition. Number two, I do understand, sir, your grievances about the South, and I think the best way always to deal with it is to engage. I don't believe that, I understand you're disappointed as well, but I think without working from within, we're raising our voices and challenging all those who are stopping the factors of change, I think we should we should think about that more. Number 3, what's the image of the NGOs? I think Mohamed answered that, but in Yemen's history, always, as Hany Banna was saying, that in Yemen history we too had this sense of cooperatives, CSOs that naturally came in the villages, and what we called agricultural cooperatives, they all came in a natural process. Once the government invaded them, it caused this break, and it caused this ailments in the process of what do you call it? Okay. The budget we will answer later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and for the speakers and for all of you. I think I'll leave a question for all of us for the development of Aden as an international port. And this is something could bring a lot of revenue for Yemen, but this should be asked to the Foreign Office Minister. Why you are leaving Aden or Aden, not developing it to bring a lot of revenues? First of all, I'd like to thank you again and again and again, all of you, and thank Oxfam, Yemen Relief and Development Forum, and Humanitarian Forum, and all the INGO, the member of the INGO Forum in Yemen and in UK, for bringing these august speakers here. We believe in youth, we believe in women, and you are the future leaders, not only of Yemen, but of humanity. So we thank all of you for doing it and for coming.
Thank you.